True crimers, welcome to Break the Case. I'm your host. I'm Jen Coffindaffer. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. This is kind of round two. We always do Missing Mondays on Mondays, but we had some breaking news on the John O'Keefe case, and I thought it was very important to kind of talk about these motions, kind of dispel some of the notions that were flying. We had a great guest, Dave Ehrenberg. If you weren't able to join us, I hope you can catch the rerun. We were set for 9:30. I kind of took an estimate because I was on his show after he was on mine. And so we ended up having a little bit more time necessary. And so for that reason, went ahead and moved this time slot up a little bit. So hopefully you're all able to join back in. I know it makes for a long night for Missing Monday, or hopefully catch the rerun. We're going to discuss 3 cases tonight. We are going to talk about Caleb Harris because there's a lot of news going on about Caleb Harris tonight. We're also going to be talking about Sebastian Rogers. There's a little bit of news there. But what I want to focus on out of the gate is Nikki Saelee McCain. This is a young woman who is missing. She's missing, but there are some very disconcerting circumstances surrounding her being missing. And particularly, it reminds me a lot of the Anna Walsh case. Brian Walsh is sitting in jail right now, awaiting trial in regard to that case. He's accused of murdering his wife, Anna Walsh, dismembering her, probably incinerating her. They never found her body, but they found a lot of other great evidence. His basement was a hot mess, and he made terrible Google searches that showed his intentions in the case. So this case reminds me a lot of that case. And unfortunately, so many other cases that are domestic violence cases that then turn to murder. So Nikki's case is just, I believe, definitely that kind of a case. Cassie Carley was another case, very similar, where you have women who are abused and ultimately their husbands kill them. Now, her husband has not been named directly as a subject. It's still considered a missing investigation, but I really want you to consider these circumstances surrounding this. First of all, in December, she was brutally assaulted by her husband, Tyler McCain. Now, I want to read specifically, according to the criminal complaint, what was said. This is what Nikki says happened. Tyler jumped on her. He held her down on the ground before hitting her face in a harsh, forceful manner, pulling her hair and pouring water on her. He bound her ankles and her wrist, and he put tape over her mouth. She said she thought she was going to die. And in fact, he also used some sort of ligature or cord type around her neck. She wasn't sure, obviously, exactly what it was, but this abuse went on for 3 hours. 3 hours, according to the complaint. Let's continue through the timeline. That was December 2023. On December 6th, the complaint was actually filed, meaning the criminal complaint. There's 3 ways to charge somebody of a crime. One is by criminal complaint. The other is by criminal information, and the other is by criminal indictment. Typically, a criminal complaint is actually written out by the police officer. He swears to it before a judge, and it's based on the facts known in the case. And information is typically written up by the prosecutor's office. Usually it's a situation where the defendant is actually cooperating, their counsel is cooperating, and it's written up, and you can charge them in that way. And then finally, an indictment, and an indictment is reached by a grand jury. In this case, a complaint was lodged on December 7th, just the next day. A protective order was issued, meaning that Tyler McCain had an order against him where he could not be in her proximity. And these protection orders, although unfortunately they can't save your life, they can be used in a legal way, that if an individual is breaking the protective order, they could actually be charged for breaking that order. So they do serve a purpose. Unfortunately, they don't save lives. He's then arraigned on May 7th, 2024. On May 18th, 2024, so get this, again, May 18th, just about a week, 10 days after he was arraigned, 11 days to be precise, she goes missing. Now, the circumstances are terrible. When I say terrible, she went missing under very concerning circumstances. In other words, she called and said she was going to be in a certain place, and that never took place. Furthermore, her husband was interviewed, and I want to give you the different stories her husband came up with as to what happened. One was that she left in an Uber. It's always an interesting excuse. I think that was the same one Brian Walsh came up with for Anna. Number two, she left with her lesbian lover. Guess that's getting a little bit more creative by the husband. And number three, she went to go see, I guess, a guy in Las Vegas. Look, whenever a loved one, especially the husband, isn't helping and is providing lies and providing inconsistent statement, I say lies because one of those three or all three are lies, because they're all inconsistent with each other. So I feel comfortable with saying he lied, and I also feel comfortable with saying he knows where she is. This reminds me so much, as I said, of Brian Walsh, all these excuses about, the information, where she was at, when he last talked to her, when she left in the Uber, all of this. It just reminds me so much of that case. Another case that to me it's a little bit similar to is Anna Knezevich. That happened, a U.S. citizen, happened over, not in our country, in Spain, Madrid, Spain, but still the same circumstance where you're having a relationship that is on the rocks, and then all of a sudden, the wife disappears. Okay, it doesn't add up. But this is where this case gets completely tragic. On the 25th of May, her vehicle is found. Now, this is what's interesting about that. I'm going to read exactly what this report says in terms of her vehicle, because I think it's very interesting. This is in a very obscure place, Cottonwood, California, and it says suspects missing persons vehicle. So it's a missing person vehicle, suspect in and around that case. It gives the tag number, brown colored. Suspect stated, I thought it looked more gray, but nevertheless, suspect stated, so this is the interview of the guy that's related to the vehicle. Suspect stated he dumped the vehicle in an area of Bowman near a bridge. Vehicle may have burn damage. It's going to come in later. Vehicle may have burn damage. What's her vehicle doing 45 miles away from her house and not anywhere near where she said she was going? Why was it burned? Who was the suspect that had in and around the vehicle? I mean, I can tell you this lines up with somebody deliberately doing something with her, and either the vehicle was burned to hide evidence in some way, and maybe this individual stole it. We've seen that before, where there's a vehicle there and they literally steal the vehicle where the crime or part of the crime took place in. Or was this person actually involved somehow in what happened to Nikki? Listen, you always hold out hope, but these circumstances we're seeing, they don't give me much hope, unfortunately, for Nikki. Then what happens? Unfortunately, June 28th, the case is moved to be dismissed. Now, this is the tragic irony of it all. Why is it moved to be dismissed? It's moved to be dismissed because Nikki's not there. The main crucial chief witness isn't there to tell her story, isn't there. And the prosecution says they need her there. Well, you know what? She's not there. And I would submit they could charge him with false statements to authorities. As I said, if you give multiple false statements, you can charge. Now, if they're not all to the authorities, or not, if only one's to the authority, you could still charge that one false statement. If you don't believe it's true, if you have proof to believe it's not true. Secondarily, they can charge the assault. Just because they don't have the victim there, it doesn't mean it can't be charged. Let me tell you why. You have the hospital staff that can talk about her wounds, talk about her injuries. No, they can't do hearsay. In other words, they can't say what she said, but they could certainly testify to their firsthand knowledge. This woman walked in, I treated this woman. This woman had abrasions to the face, had abrasions to the neck. Whatever the actual history was that was reported medically to that staff, they can testify about that. Also, the officer who interviewed her can testify as to what he saw. Black eyes, her face being marred. He can testify as to that. Obviously, her husband doesn't have to testify, and in this circumstance probably wouldn't testify. But where in the world is this investigation right now? What's going on with the cellular digital forensic analysis of her phone and of his phone and of the guy that dropped the car that was with the vehicle? What's going on with him? What is going on with this case? There's no information. It's just that charges were dropped. Pending more information. Now, this is what's really unsettling too, and I'm going to read this. Okay. No, I'm not going to read it. I think I have it memorized enough where I can just paraphrase. But essentially, in Shasta County, where all of this is occurring in California, cases are being dismissed based on the fact that there aren't courtrooms and there aren't enough judges. Domestic violence cases. The one that was most notable to me, his last name was Epps. I believe I'm not going to guess. The last name was Epps. My glasses are giving me fits here. I'm going to look this up really quick because I have it right at my fingertips. Brett Epps. Brett Epps was accused of attempted murder in a domestic violence case. Attempted murder. He almost murdered his victim. And his case was terminally halted, meaning can never be tried again. What is going on in this county? that they're dismissing all of these cases, these domestic violence cases, because their courtrooms aren't big enough. We've talked about this before. You can use improvised courtrooms. We've done it before. It's ridiculous to think you cannot use improvised courtrooms and then get more judges. If you have too much crime and you don't have enough judges to oversee the crime, get more judges. So it's very frustrating to me that this is occurring in this county and that this man's domestic violence charges were dismissed. And she's still gone. What in the world is going on in this investigation? She's been gone since May 18th. Now, that might not seem like a long time, and in a way it's not in the world of putting cases together. But in exigent type cases, you should be able to get cellular phone records and data. And have they enlisted the help of the FBI or the help of Secret Service? Has anybody gone and asked for help from the state police? What other resources are being used to help find Nikki and to help determine if there is a case against her husband for being involved in her disappearance? I'm going to stay on this case. I also will say I Am Legacy. It's at I Am Legacy. This is a Twitter handle. She's an excellent account. She cares about these cases. She usually tries to focus on one case very strongly and really digs deep. She gets court records and she digs deep. I'm involved in a lot of different cases, and I could tell you her and I have worked in the past on several cases together, and she's a good account to watch if you want facts and information regarding this particular case. I'm going to stay on it too. It's unnerving what's going on in Shasta County, and we need to be concerned about all those cases. The fact that Brett Epps is out, I hope his victim is moved far away from where he is. I want to touch base really quick about Sebastian Rogers. I said there was new news. Okay, I don't want to oversell that. When I say new news, I mean this. Still missing, but there are efforts to begin searches again. How do I know this? This is from Seth Rogers, and this is the new news I was going to mention. As we all know, the Sebastian Rogers case was one of those cases that was an absolute hot mess. YouTubers were going crazy, even to some degree in mainstream media. Mostly though, TikTok, YouTube, it was mostly happening on social media, where the focus of that case were the Proudfoots, Katie and Chris Proudfoot, and Seth Rogers, the father, so the parental units. That was the focus. And then Seth Rogers asked for the assistance. Somehow they got together with Tony Mathis, and Tony got involved with trying to get him more visibility on TikTok and on other social media platforms. Bullhorn Betty has been involved with helping get his story out there. But sad to say, it all just blew up even worse. It was already a hot mess, and then it went to an ultra hot mess. But in response, and this is the bit of news, is Seth Rogers now has his own YouTube station. He was aided by Bullhorn Betty. She obviously is very good with YouTubes and things like that, YouTube channels, setting things up. She gave her assistant, Tony Mathis, who was his handler, for lack of a better term, his PR person, is handling sort of emceeing the shows. The last show I did with Seth, which I really wanted to focus on Sebastian, who Sebastian was, what he meant in his life, kind of the whole history of them. They basically took that format that I did with Seth and redid it with some more new pictures of Sebastian, which were so sweet when he was a baby and things. And so I thought it was, certainly touching. And Seth was trying to really, I think, make come alive his love for Sebastian. He also said that law enforcement is now speaking with him. And for instance, there were 2 bodies found in that area. He received calls regarding them that they weren't his son. So it seems to me that that line of communication is at least somewhat open now between law enforcement and Seth. We heard Seth say in the past that wasn't really that open. It seems like it might have gotten better. And I think the fact that there are still searches that are being organized is a good sign. Intelligence-based searches. Again, this case is either, in my opinion, unfortunately, going to end up like a Summer Wells, or it's going to end up like a Connor Jack Oswald. I've said that from the beginning. Let's hope it's Connor Jack, that he somehow returns years later. He didn't return. Connor Jack didn't return, but he was found. He was found. So I'm still, hoping for that outcome. All right, I want to switch to Caleb Harris, because Caleb Harris, from the beginning, that is a case that's very important to me, that I've been tracking. I shouldn't say to me, it's very important to our community. Our community at Coffindaffer FBI, this community on Break the Case, we care about Caleb. Everyone wants to know what is going on with Caleb Rogers. We addressed sort of the breaking news last week regarding the body that was found in a pump house. Now, this week I've gotten a lot more information about that body. It's been sent off to a lab, a university lab, for DNA analysis. As I discussed last week, it's to the point that it's unrecognizable. I've also understood even more absolutely horrible news about this body. I'm not going to repeat it because I didn't hear it from law enforcement. And until I hear it from law enforcement, I just can't take it at its word. So stay tuned. When we do missing next week, I'll update you. Was there any clothing found? It's my understanding there was some clothing found. Suffice it to say that even though the proximity to Caleb was so close, I mean, you could literally see it. JLR Investigates did a nice piece. I like his pieces because he's boots on the ground and actually gives people proximity to things, and he shows things, and he's eyes and ears on these cases, and I appreciate that. And you could see how very close this particular pump house was. It was probably, I don't know, a couple of holes. So I play golf, so it was, probably 2 drives, 2 holes. It was probably, looked like maybe 800 yards. It wasn't very far. And so I would say, and when I say drives, I don't drive the ball that far, by the way. It would take me, to get 400 yards, it would take me certainly 2 to 3 strokes. But in any event, what my point about this is, it's in such close proximity, it gives you, pause that it would be him. But remember, that was all searched. It was all searched. That cornfield, all of that was searched. So this would have been a situation where, after, I think the date was around April 16th or April 19th, right in there, mid-April, let's just say, generally, it would have had to happen after that body would have had to been somehow placed in there. So this wasn't, from what I believe, from looking at the possible manholes, from looking at the way that facility is locked up tight, I don't know. It seems to me it had to have been somehow placed in a position to end up there. Not an accident, from what I can see. And again, there's no evidence that it's Caleb. I'm not saying it's not Caleb, but I'm certainly not saying it isn't Caleb. I posted on my Twitter 4 other young men missing in and around Corpus Christi. Could be one of them. Could be one of them. You know, I found it very interesting that one of the young men that went missing, now, so that's 4. I think there were actually 5. Another one that was actually found, but he went missing at this park that was nearby. And he was found a month later. But they don't say, like, what was he doing in that time frame? What happened? Where was he? Was he lured there? Was he taken there by somebody? I just feel like Caleb left with someone. I don't know who, and I don't know why. And I'd like to think that Caleb is still alive. I'd like to think that. So I'm going to continue to think that. And until we get information, believe me, the minute I know, which I think I'll know soon after the results come in, when I know, I'll definitely do a live, and I will definitely post, because this case, again, this Texas boy, Caleb Harris, student at Texas A&M in Corpus Christi, is gone, just vanished at about 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's really quite a mystery. But we still don't know about that body that was found at that pump station, which pumps water basically into a sewage type treatment plant. I mean, just horrific. So I want to get to your comments really quick, because I couldn't in the first live, but I want to get to some right now. So let's see. We've got some. Hi, Bella Italia. Hope Caleb is somewhere too, praying. Yeah. This is such a great audience because everybody really cares about the victims. Hi, Alan Hinkle. He could have fallen in the manhole in the field, and he went through pipes in the station. You know, Alan, so this is one of the points that I think is really important. At least it is to me. And let me know what you think, Alan, and others, everybody else on here. He was barefoot. His shoes are all accounted for. He wore a huge shoe. Can't remember. I think size 13. I'm not 100% sure, but it wasn't the same size as his roommates. He couldn't like slip into their shoes. All his shoes were accounted for according to the family. The family believes they know his shoes because he was on their budget. They bought his shoes. They bought everything. He didn't, have a job where he had an income to buy extra things. They believe he was barefoot. He was seen earlier in the evening barefoot, and he liked to be barefoot. Listen, I grew up in Nebraska. We had corn, and I could tell you there is no way, and I ran around barefoot all the time on the farm. I would no way in heck go into a cornfield barefoot, not on your life. Not only because of critters and snakes and everything else that's in a cornfield, but it is so rough on your feet. It would be extremely difficult to walk in and around there and then to just somehow fall in a manhole. So I'm not leaning toward that, Alan. It can't be ruled out, but I just can't buy into that right now. It doesn't logically make sense to me, but it's not off the table. All right, let's see. Robin Swan. Hi. I don't think the average person realizes exactly how many people are missing any given time. Oh, you're so exactly right. I was just looking up these stats, And it was unbelievable. I think I saw, I don't want to repeat them. I posted them on my Twitter. I thought it was 500,000 to 800,000 missing. Don't hold me to that. I'll try to post those tomorrow. I think I posted one set of stats already. You know, it depends on whether you're talking about children or whether you're talking about adults and children, whether you're talking about missing right today or on average. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Robin says, well over 2,000 go missing every day. Mama B, yep, I hear you, Jen. Once school was out, we were always barefoot, but definitely not in the cornfield. Exactly. Thank you. I got another farm girl on the station. Unless you have grown up in that atmosphere, it's hard to describe a cornfield. It hurts so much. Any corn detasselers? We used to detassel the corn. You would get cuts, these horrible cuts. Corn is, ouch. And whether the corn, no matter the phase of the corn, to walk around in a cornfield would not be a wise thing to do. Sun Bunny, hi. He is not going to fall in a manhole while walking through a cornfield barefoot and end up in the sewer station. This is the other thing I did want to point out. And I have talked to people who know and who saw that manhole, and they say that there were kind of these bars or grades in there and that you really couldn't. Now, could you push a body in there? Absolutely. You could. Pieces, parts, you could. But we don't know if that's what happened. But that manhole could possibly play a role. It's possible. Kat and Gabby Hunter. Hi, Jen. Love watching you. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Listen, that silly, I don't want to say silly John O'Keefe case because it's not. That case is heart-wrenching for that family and all they've gone through. But that case has been tough. Like, it's amazing. The haters. I didn't know that people could actually have that much hate in their heart for someone they don't know and somebody they hate because of an opinion. I don't know about you all. I have never felt the feeling of hate. Now, I might not respect people. I might not like some people. I got a little bit of a Puerto Rican temper, so I can kind of, something small can make me go, what? But I don't have any hate in my heart for anyone. So it's hard for me to understand. Of course, I haven't lost a child. I haven't had a child murdered. Maybe that could all change. I'd hope I'd be more like the Chapins and not have that hate. But to hate somebody for an opinion, how does that happen? All right, let me see here. True Crime Legacy. Hi, Jen. There she is. Legacy coming in hot. I'm sending people to your channel on the Nikki case. I love your coverage of it. It's just like the same coverage that you had when you covered Michael Vaughn, which we worked on a lot together. That was the first case we worked together. And so many other cases that you have taken an interest in, and you jump into those cases. Quentin Simon was another one that we've worked on. So we'll keep plugging ahead on those cases. Oh, yeah. Alan says, hey, Legacy. Listen, there are people in this chat that we go back 2 years. We go back to the Gabby Petito case. That's what brought us all together. Raise your hand. Just show. Can you do hearts or make hearts fly up, guys? Or I don't know. In some people's channel, I see like hearts and things flying up. I guess we don't have those here, but I wish we did. Hopefully, one of our mods, at which, by the way, I can't thank enough to our main mod and to the other mods that help out. But if maybe we could make that fly up, so then I could know if you liked something that was said. But I would love to see hearts flying up on those of us that have been in this community working true crime for 2 years advocating and trying to bring, answers in cases. Slews. I love slews. So anyway, I think there's a bunch of us. Anything else? Yep, there they are. Been here since Gabby. Spooky McDo. Thanks for all the hearts. I appreciate it. They might not be flying up, but they're flying on your little section there. I love that. Okay, let's see. Oh, there they are. Everybody. These are the hearts I was talking about. Look at everybody coming in hot from the Gabby times. We'll keep plugging away. We'll keep hanging in there. And I just want to thank you all. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you liked the segment before. Look at all those hearts. I love it. For those of you who saw the section before this, I love Dave Ehrenberg. I met right after, actually during Gabby Petito. He did some commentary on Gabby Petito, and we have a really good rapport. So it's pretty cool. Let me see what this says up here because it's blue. I love the blue. How did you make that blue? Anyway, I just want to thank you all for being here. I'm not going to drone on. You guys all need to get to your evenings, but for all of you with the little hearts, thank you. And until next time, may justice be served.